physical and immortal, somewhat analogous to the human soul. They inhabit human bodies, moving them around like puppets. Because of their immortality, when their current human host dies, they are forced to vacate and to find another host. Honest to goodness, this is what's in what they believe. Apparently, these thetans somehow come equipped with all of the engrams that they've copied from other lifetimes, they've accumulated from other people, and take them with them. So Hubbard thought it was possible, although of course very costly, to clear even the ancient engrams. That must have been Sonia's problem. They just did the first level and didn't get back to her thetan, and so they had to do the engrams again. This necessitated a change in the terminology, and what used to be called a clear now became known as an MEST clear. MEST standing for matter, energy, space, and time. While those who managed to eradicate all engrams from all previous lives would have bestowed upon them the title of operating thetan. So apparently that's you. If you can clear all that out, you become an operating thetan. While the clear state of mind is the main goal of Dianetics, Scientology continues the process with 8 operating thetan levels above that. Once you become the operating thetan, then there are 8 more levels which you can get, which of course you have to take classes for, and of course the classes cost money. That's right. And you guys are getting this for free. That's a holy smokes. You're in the wrong business. In both, you're not getting for free, you're pledging to the parish and it's all a part of it, right? But anyway, you know what I mean. For this one, each class you take, that's what you pay. In both Dianetics and in Scientology, the object is to eliminate the causes of our bad behavior by getting rid of these engrams through the process of the Dianetic auditing system. The person being audited holds 2 tin things, they're like tin cans practically, which are wired to an E-meter, which registers when an engram is discovered. The E-meter, also called the pastoral counseling device, I like that. I have a pastoral counseling device. It's called my chair. You sit in the chair and we listen. But anyway, this one's electronic, so it must be better. And it's basically a skin response galvanometer, which the church sells for between, and again, this was in the 1990s, sold for between $900 and $2,500. When an engram is discovered, the event that created the engram is relieved until the needle floats, meaning the engram has been discharged, it's now gone. Strangely enough, Hubbard himself admits that the E-meter is a religious artifact used in the church confessional and in itself does nothing. That's a direct quote from Hubbard. Actually, the doctrine is considerably more involved than the above, as Factnet gets for us, with the mind divided into its analytical and reactor sides, with a demon circuits, with chains. In fact, there's a 476-page technical dictionary which lists all the specialized concepts and terminology. Many of the definitions in the dictionary seem to be inspired by Hubbard's career as an author of pulp science fiction. One such listing is for something he called the Macabre Confederacy, described as an organization of several planets which have been united in the last 200,000 years. According to the dictionary, in the last 10,000 years, they've gone on with a sort of decadent, kicked-in-the-head civilization that contains automobiles, business suits, fedora hats, telephones, and spaceships. That sounds like a place I'd like to live in. So L. Ron Hubbard had been a science fiction writer both before and apparently after his work on Dianetics and Scientology. And there's overwhelming evidence that biographical Scientology literature on Hubbard is just as much a work of fiction. According to the church literature, Hubbard exploits were nothing short of legendary, and his lifetime accomplishments would have put a dozen ordinary people to shame. Closer examination, however, reveals a very different picture. Rather than being, as he claimed, a war hero, a famous Hollywood screenwriter, a U.S. intelligence officer, a record-setting pilot, a Princeton graduate, and a rocket engineer, Hubbard was in fact a mediocre to poor student at George Washington University who dropped out after 2 years and failed the one course in nuclear physics in which he had been enrolled. you know, I guess before the internet they thought they could get away with that sort of stuff, right? His Navy fitness record states that he was, quote, lacking in the essential qualities of judgment, leadership, and cooperation, and, quote, was not considered qualified for command or for promotion. The most notable incident of his military career appears to have been when, in command of a submarine chaser, he fought a prolonged 2-day battle against what proved to be a magnetic deposit on the ocean floor. Hate when that happens. Yeah. In 1984, British custody battle involving Scientologist Mr. Justice Letney, a High Court justice in England, also concluded that Hubbard was not a war hero, a squadron leader, an atomic physicist, nor an intelligence officer for the U.S. In fact, the Scientology counsel, the lawyer in the case, did not even attempt to refute the charges against Hubbard. According to Letney, the judge, there's no dispute about any of this. The evidence goes unchallenged. Another judge, Paul Breckinridge in Los Angeles Superior Court, presided over a lawsuit against the church in 1984. Of Hubbard, he said, the evidence, quote, the evidence portrays a man who has been virtually a pathological liar when it comes to history, background, and achievements. One former Scientologist, Jerry Armstrong, left the church after being assigned to write a biography about Hubbard. The documents he was given show that Hubbard had seriously misrepresented his own past. Armstrong went to court to keep these documents, fearing that without them, he would be vulnerable to attacks from the church. Armstrong had a good reason to fear. In a 1967 memo that came to be known as the Fair Game Policy, Hubbard described penalties for lower conditions, including enemy SP, or a suppressive person, order, fair game, may be deprived of property or injured by any means, by any Scientology, without any discipline of the Scientologists, may be tricked, sued, lied to, or destroyed. Again, all part of the memo from 1967. Hubbard's attitude to potential criticism of the church was that if there will be a long-term threat, you are immediately to evaluate and originate a blackmail PR campaign to destroy the person's reputation and to discredit them so thoroughly that they will be ostracized. The chilling example of the above involves Paulette Cooper. This is actually a very famous case. The author of The Scandal of Scientology. The church's response to Cooper's book is detailed in a document describing Operation Freakout, which was designed to get Paulette Cooper incarcerated in a mental institution or jail, or at least to hit her so hard that she'll drop her attacks. That's a quote from the Scientology. Yeah. Cooper, who says she was served with 18 lawsuits against her by the church, had a nervous breakdown after someone sent Scientology a bomb threat on her stationery. Somebody got a copy of Paulette Cooper's stationery and sent someone else a bomb threat. She was cleared of the charges after a 1977 raid on the church office where documents outlining Operation Freakout were discovered. This section, in a section entitled Vital Targets, the document Operation Freakout gives specific details of the harassment program against Cooper. Such actions include an obvious attempt to impersonate Cooper with directions like to recruit a field staff member that looks like Paulette Cooper, to get familiar with Paulette Cooper, to find out some of the clothes she wears, particularly what sort of coat she usually wears, to get a cheap coat, and it's very similar to Paulette Cooper's, to have someone available to stake out Paulette Cooper